My top tips for any creators looking to start their own studio or starting their indie game. The number one thing that I've learned through this journey, and it's been 2.5 years or so, 3 years, resiliency. You need to be incredibly resilient when it comes to wanting this more than anything. Through your journey, as you actually start to actually make your studio, your indie studio, your game, you realize that a lot of people are trying to actually get you to not do it, right? So whenever I used to speak with a lot of investors or publishers, they would say things like, are you sure you want to do this? It doesn't look like you're ready yet. Or, are you sure you want to do this? Like, this doesn't look like a game that will sell very much. Or, this game looks like this other game. What makes it different? And you're going to continuously have questions that make you question your decision to start the studio, start the game. The thing is, only you in your head can actually see the game finished. Nobody else can except for you. So until the game comes out and is your vision the way you intended it as best as possible, the world cannot actually truly understand what you're trying to say. So unless you're resilient through all these people kind of telling you no and go try another time and oh my God, what are you doing? You will not probably be able to actually withstand the journey that you're going to embark to. So resiliency is probably the best tool that you have right now. And basically say, no matter how many times you gotta no, you keep plowing through and you keep on actually wanting to deliver this game. And you're doing it for the passion. Remember, you're not doing it for the money. Because if you think about the money, especially where we are right now and the state of the industry, you probably get disappointed very fast because there's not a lot of money going out there in terms of funding different studios and different games. So unless you do it for the passion, you won't be able to actually kind of like withstand like a lot of this situation that is creating a studio, creating a game. So resiliency and passion come together like this. So that will be my first tip. Now the second one, equally as important, is build a great team. This might sound obvious for the most of you. However, to me at least, the way I think, building a team is not about finding the people that actually fit in a specific slot, because that actually becomes just a person that can do a job. Building a team is basically finding your family members, your friends, your mates, people that you can hang out with, people that you can interact with, people that you know that you can brainstorm with very, very well. Like, we have a bunch of different roles that we should have had from the very beginning, but we don't have them because we haven't found the right person with the right attitude to fill that role. Because finding the right person with the right attitude is much more important to us than finding a role to fill. And that's another thing that you need to kind of weigh the pros and cons, because a lot of publishers and a lot of investors, they will ask you, do you have an engineer? Do you have a designer? Do you have a level designer? Do you have environment? They actually look at it as a bullet point list of things that you need to have to build a studio. However, you as the owner, you as the person in charge, you as the person that actually needs to make this game happen, your role is to hire the best people that fit within the team for a specific purpose, so you can create the spirit and the vibe of the studio, right? Because believe it or not, and I've seen it many times, when you hire somebody that is really good at their job but not so good in terms of personality and vibing and teamwork, it kind of spoils the whole thing. It's like fruit, right? It spoils the whole basket and it's horrible, and it kind of stops the momentum. It makes you think twice about everything you do, and it basically stifles the progress that you've made or you're going to make going forward. So hiring the right people that feel like friends, feel like family, is absolutely super essential for you to have a successful studio at the end of the road. And also another bonus here is that when you hire the right people and everybody is vibing and enjoying it and feeling good, even if you are doing it for free, especially we are doing it right now, self-sufficient, everybody enjoys the work they do, which means that they will do better work for you, for the studio on the long run, because they enjoy the job that they're doing. A lot of people in AAA, myself included for many years, you stop enjoying it. You're doing it for the paycheck, you're doing it because you have a family, you have to sustain things, but it's not necessarily that you're enjoying the job that you're doing. So even though you're small and you have an amazing team, you can actually deliver this piece that is missing from most people that I've experienced in this industry, which is the fun and the love and the passion for games. So that is really important. Now the third tip is treat people with respect. Treat people like you would like to be treated. And this goes for all those that are experienced out there that want to start a studio, an indie game, whatever. And especially if you come from AAA like myself, because if you have enough experience, most likely you have been to a studio that basically treats you like you don't really matter. And after going through all the process of recruitment and showcasing how good you are, it feels like a waste of time, that they spend all this time hiring you for the position because you're the right person, and they're not making the best out of your abilities because they put you in a box and they close that box and it's like, that is done, let's move on to the next person. And it feels frustrating, to say the least, and you don't feel like you have enough respect, not only on your work that you do, but also as a person. You want to have a bigger voice, you want to have a say, you want to kind of have ideas, brainstorm, feel like you listen to, and a lot of those things don't happen, and sometimes they don't happen for years. So treating people with respect means, to me at least, in Proxima means sharing everything that we do. And that goes for how much we're asking for the game, our budgets, the good, the bad, all of the ups and downs that we go through, listening to people a lot. Good ideas can come from anywhere, no matter the experience that you have. Being humble, and also kind of like knowing that no matter where you are in your career, your voice obviously is absolutely essential for this team in order to build this company. Because I think when you treat people like that, people feel more invested in your product, feel more invested in this game, and they feel like there's a bigger and bigger piece of themselves that goes and basically is imbued in this game. And that's essential for us to make the best game possible, because as much as you want to have all the great ideas as being at the top of the company, it's impossible for you to have all the great ideas, and the game is much better if all the ideas come together from different people, and as a result is bigger than its parts, right? Like it's much more cohesive because everybody listened to each other and the best ideas stayed in the game, and the worst ideas kind of like went away from the project, which is great. Third tip is be self-sufficient. And by this I mean act and work as if you don't need funding. And this is harder, way harder to actually do than I'm actually saying it here. Is harder to do than to say, right? Because when you are an indie developer, and either for a game or for a studio, the number one thing that you need is money. Because especially if you're getting started like ourselves from nothing and you haven't have a successful title just yet, so you don't have any income coming into the company to actually make things go, you need money. So money is a massive thing on the back of your head all the time, and it feels like you're always exploring different ways to get money. Even studios that have published many games, they are constantly on the search for more money so they can actually do more things. The more money you have, the safer you are and the more you can do, which is great. However, those things come at a price, and this is why I think that you should work from the very beginning as if you're already funded. Because if you work as if you're already funded, it means that you're taking a lot of decisions that you would have taken if a publisher or an investor is already in place, and you have to report back to them what kind of things have you done. And this is something that you're gonna have to get used to, so it becomes a training for you. Every 3 months, every month, depending on the publisher, you need to kind of like report back to the publisher about, progress and where you're going and your milestones and where you're gonna go after this and what are your big beats and things like that, right? So the more you work like that internally, even before you have a publisher, not only are you gonna be more ready for when a publisher or investor comes through and just gives you the money, but also it means that you are constantly progressing. Because one of the things that we have more difficulty with, and I hear from other people, CEOs and founders, they struggle as well, is keeping momentum, right? Because when you don't have anybody putting pressure on you from up top in terms of money and be like, you need to be ready by GDC, you need to be ready by Gamescom, it feels like you have all the time in the world, and having all the time in the world might sound like a blessing, but sometimes it becomes more of a curse, because when you can do everything, sometimes you end up doing nothing. So thinking about it that way, to me at least, and to us at Proxima, it means that we're constantly progressing and heading towards the next goal, which then ends up being very positive for any investor or any publisher out there looking for a spreadsheet of achievements, right? They have seen, wow, you guys have been putting a lot of work. This is going to be more of the same once we actually come in with the money. The fourth tip is invest in your own company. This doesn't have to be like you have lots of thousands of millions or whatever and you want to invest in the company, because I don't. It means that you need to actually kind of like start investing money, such as like we invest in Slack, for example, so we can have a place to actually bond as a team and communicate and have historical things that we can go back and like get more and like, you know, find out what has been said 3 months ago. We invest in Perforce, for example. It's another thing that we invest on. Unreal licenses, software licenses. Those things, even though they're expensive, they're not as expensive as, you know, what an investor would do in order to actually get like the Unreal specific license that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even though it's money, and money obviously, you know, can be scarce at times, but so far we've been investing in those things to make sure that we continuously work better and better, and we can have more and more people joining us and have less and less friction so we can work together faster. What this means is that when you invest in your own company, it means that you are investing basically yourself into the company, which then is another good signal for anybody wanting to invest, wanting to publish a game, because if these guys are so invested that they're putting not only their effort and work, but also their own money into this, and the game is looking this good, then there's something here cohesive that we want to invest in as well and help them with their journey. If you're not investing your own money and you're just waiting for the money to get started, it feels very much like there's a doubt, right? Will these guys be able to get to the point that they have when they have money? Because money doesn't really solve your issues, it just makes them slightly easier, but the issues are still there. So if you had issues before you got money, you're gonna have still issues when you have money. So you working and investing your money in your company, it means that you're starting to solve some of those issues right in your company, which is another good sign for anybody trying to invest in your company. I know this is only 5 tips, but I have a 6th tip, and I could not leave this one out. In today's market and how things are right now, in terms of publishers being so scarce, in terms of money not being so available out there, in terms of things being diminished, in terms of like even AAA studios trying to kind of downsize so they can actually keep profit, is hard. It's incredibly hard, which means that you need to think outside the box in order to make things happen. And I cannot stress this enough for anybody out there trying to create a studio, an indie game, because we are going to be the ones that actually set the rules for what's coming next. And this is really important for me to say, because we as AA developers, I genuinely believe that we are going to be setting the trends of the games industry going forward. I don't think it's going to be so focused on AAA, or AAA is going to change in some way, somehow. It's going to be focused on AA studios and indie game developers to set the rules on what the games should be, should look like, and also satisfying the players to the most. And I do think we're going backwards in order to go forwards. Like the games that used to come out in PS1 and, you know, Nintendo 64 and all this other stuff, that just enjoyable games, right? Just there was no genres, it was just games and it was fun. I think that's where we're going. So thinking outside the box in terms of finding financing your games, the mechanics, how much fun it is, so you can hook people in. That's basically ultimately what's going to give you the leverage, so you can actually then get investment and get all this interest from people, because not only are they seeing your studio as somebody or people that are actually very, very creative and also very interesting, but now they know that you're thinking outside the box as well, and you're trying to find different ways to kind of get your game funded. And this is how we're starting to get some traction. We're still not quite there. We still don't have investment or publisher, but we definitely understand and can see that people have interest in the studio, because we're trying things slightly different, and some things are successful, some things are not successful, but at least we are trying. And I think that's the name of the game right now, thinking outside the box.